Having searched every room in the house and under every movable piece of furniture, there was only one place left to look, yet she dare not ever enter her parents' bedroom. Hello, welcome to In My Words. The book I am reading from is titled The Monster We Call Dad by D.A. Riles. This book is not intended for young readers. After each reading session, I will briefly give information about a chosen plant. I hope through my words you will gain insight, knowledge, and a deeper appreciation and understanding of this mysterious and intricate world. Though the road may be long and hard, compassion and beauty can be gained through the enjoyment of nature and experiencing its wondrous gifts. Thank you for joining me. Chapter 22. Pets. Sarah came across many animals during her childhood. Many times she would bring them home with her, and sometimes they just followed her home. Each time that Mom or Dad saw an animal in the yard, they would once again tell their naive daughter that she was unable to keep it, so she would release the pet, hoping that the animal would go back to its rightful owner. But this time was different. Perhaps they were in a good mood, or just didn't care to bother with telling their daughter no once again. So Sarah was able to keep the little kitten, and she named it Tippy. Tippy was a pretty kitten. She had some gray, white, and black in her fur. She was so cute and lovable. Sarah took the kitten everywhere, even on her new bike, which she had received last Christmas. Her bike was shiny blue. On the front handlebars, it held a white plastic weave basket with a pink flower on it. Sarah put Tippy in the pretty plastic basket, riding for many hours with her. Never once did Tippy try to jump out. Sarah thought her kitty was the best kitten ever. A year came and went. It was time for Sarah to start kindergarten. The very first day of school, Mom took a picture of Sarah holding Tippy. Feeling like a big girl for starting school today, Sarah was proud of herself. Yet she was a bit sad having to leave Tippy alone at home while she went to school. "Can I take Tippy to school with me today for show and tell?" the young girl questioned her mom. "They don't do show and tell on the first day of school," Mom scoffed. "You know what your brothers and sisters told you. Tippy will be here when you get home. Now let's get in the car and get you to school." Dejected, Sarah did as her mom requested. Since this was the little girl's first day of school, Mom drove her. It was a long way from home, nearly 1 mile. "You need to know how to get to school by yourself." Mom paused and then added, "After school, you will walk home with your brothers and sister. They'll meet you at your school, so be sure to wait for them." Sarah nodded, yet felt apprehensive. She didn't know if she would be ready to walk to school by herself tomorrow. Being so young, everything was so much bigger and scarier. Paying close attention as Mom drove her to school, Sarah watched every turn, and soon they were there. Mom dropped her daughter off and left for work. Sarah loved kindergarten. Mrs. Jacobson was the best teacher ever. The children were given a graham cracker and milk every day. They even were able to nap after the snack. Every day at the end of their naps, Mrs. Jacobson would walk over to one child and touch him or her lightly with her magic wand, and that child would be able to lead the other children out to recess. Sarah looked forward to being touched by the magic wand. The day finally came when the wand touched Sarah lightly on her head. Sarah was in such a deep sleep that she didn't wake up. Mrs. Jacobson knew that Sarah must be very tired, so she allowed the little girl to continue sleeping. After waking up from her nap, the children in her class told her that she missed being the leader. Sarah was devastated. Mrs. Jacobson reassured her, however, that she would be allowed to lead the school children out to recess on another day. Then she wouldn't have to miss her turn. Sarah skipped most of the way home that first day of school. The 3 older children tried to keep up. They kept telling her to slow down, but she was elated. School was fun. She liked her teacher, and she couldn't wait to see Tippy. Skipping toward the back door, Sarah entered the silent home in search of Tippy. Usually, Tippy greeted her when she would come home. On occasion, however, the little cat would be sleeping and not hear her best friend come in. "Tippy! Tippy!" Sarah called out. Her small voice sang through the house. As the three older children entered through the door, they heard Sarah's calls and said, "Be quiet, Dad is sleeping. Remember, he works at night and you have to be quiet." Realizing her siblings were right, Sarah quieted herself so she wouldn't wake her dad. No one wanted to be in trouble, so all were as quiet as possible when Dad was sleeping. With prolonged syllables, she quietly called out, "Tippy, Tippy, Tippy." Waiting a few moments, she tried again. Sarah looked all through the house, persistent in finding her furry friend. An hour went by. Then Sarah went to get a drink of water. She watched a little bit of TV. By then, 2 hours had passed. Sarah was starting to worry. Where could she be? The young girl wondered to herself. Where would she go? Having searched every room in the house and under every movable piece of furniture, there was only one place left to look. Yet she dare not ever enter her parents' bedroom. She knew she would have to wait until Dad got up. The young child tried to keep busy. It was hard to play, since her mind kept thinking about Tippy. Finally, she went outside to find a neighborhood child to play with. It was difficult, for most of the neighborhood children didn't want to play with her. Their family was poor, and people in that area didn't like poor people. Seeing another child, who also came from a poor family, Sarah shyly walked in the front yard. The other girl wanted someone to play with too. The child resembled Sarah in many ways, not facially, but in her attire. Tattered, tired, old clothes covered the girl's body. Her button shirt was in a checkerboard pattern. The top and the middle button had fallen off long ago. The colors were now faded from being handed down many times before it reached this final child in the family. Her pedal pusher pants, which used to be black, were now gray. Holes littered the old pants. The strap, which held the bottom of the pants and slid under the arch of the foot, had worn off. A loose strap dangled from each side of the worn cloth. The little red head's curly hair was matted, greasy, and filled with particles of lint from the lack of washing. Sarah liked this child the best in the area. She was just like her, and when they would get a chance to play together, they would have fun. Sarah's clothes were also worn, tattered, and faded too. Her blonde hair was matted to her head, her features slight. Both girls were thin and pale in appearance. It was difficult to fit in since most of the neighborhood was filled with children from wealthier families. The smell that emanated off each little girl was quite offensive. Sarah especially had a pungent odor. Unfortunately for her, she wet the bed every night until she turned 12. All these things made the two children outsiders, always looking in, never being a part of anything or anybody. They both seemed to be alone in the world. The two similar girls played until dark. I appreciate all of you who are watching my videos. If you have any questions regarding plant growing, or if you are interested in learning why I wrote the books I have, and if I am working on another book or two, please leave your comments below and I will try to get back to you in a timely manner. I am doing all the editing and producing of this content on my own. I never expected doing this at this stage of my life, but when circumstances demand, then it is important for me to create income where I can. Leaving a comment will help my videos get noticed more in the future and allow other people to view them. Also, purchasing one or both of my books will be very helpful. Thank you for your time and consideration. Hello for a while, I am going to be reading from a book titled Smith's Panorama of Science and Art, Volume 2. The book is dated 1816. It is a royalty-free book, which you can obtain a PDF from the Library of Congress. So if you would like to read along with me during this time that I am reading through the gardening part of this book, that is where you will be able to find the words. I am doing this in order to save myself time, for I've been very busy, especially with trying to take care of my garden, my family, the house, and many other numerous things that I must attend to. So, beginning today for a while, I am going to start reading from a book, and that way I don't have to look up all the information to make sure I give you proper information. This is just coming from a book from back in 1816, according to what they wrote on the book. It says, page 653, gardening. Gardening is a branch of agriculture which combines ornament with utility and employs the most minute vigilance of cultivation to maintain and improve the excellence of vegetable products. Gardens are usually considered as of three classes. 1. The flower garden. 2. The fruit garden. 3. The kitchen garden. The greenhouse, hothouse, and nursery are repositories for productions which belong to all these classes. Of the situation, soil, and plan of a garden. As a garden usually takes up but a small portion of ground, and as the object of it is often not so much for the profit as the recreation and rational enjoyment which it may afford to the proprietor, it will always be desirable to fix it in the pleasantest situation of which the selection is admissible. The merit occasioned by the difference in prospect is easily brought to the decision of taste, but it should be remembered that mountain scenery, particularly where water is included, will please the longest. A site is to be preferred which is neither very elevated nor very low, and which forms a gentle declivity screened, if possible, from north and northeasterly winds. Of course, a situation is better when too low than too high on account of its greater warmth, unless the vicinity contains much stagnant water or marshy ground. A plentiful supply of water is of great consequence, and running water is better than any other. Pond water will answer equally well for watering, but will not be so wholesome in a garden if entirely stagnant. Water drawn fresh from a spring is too cold for watering plants, and if no other can be had, it should be exposed to some time to the atmosphere before it is used. So just for a quick recap, so what they are saying is it is best to have your garden in a flat, level area, which is away from a north wind, and to have a water source nearby so it is easier to take care of your garden. Please like, share, and subscribe. I look forward to having you join me again next time, where I will highlight another plant, and I will continue to read from the book titled The Monster We Call Dad by D.A. Riles, which you can purchase from Amazon.com. Thank you for having joined me.